Alright, so I'm making this video to go over keybinds in Fortnite. It's still a completely open discussion. This is simply what has worked for me, what I've prioritized, and hopefully it helps some of you guys out. Let's get right into it. Okay, so the most important aspect of this game is not the shooting, although, you know, having good aim does help. It's not the emotes, although they're super fun. Oh, it's not ready yet. There we go. Anyhow, the most important aspect of this game is building. So you want to prioritize your keybinds for building. Okay, so let's go over that first. Okay, so the two most accessible keys on your keyboard are probably E and Q, just because they sit right next to the W button, which your finger is constantly on, right? If you're using WASD as your movement button. Some people like to change it around, but if you got one of these, oh, I can't lift it, the tournament 10 keyless keyboards without the number pad on them, then you can, keep your hand all the way off to the left. If not, some people like to use like IJKL. That way you can have your hand way off to the right of your keyboard and it's not getting in the way of your mouse pad and stuff like that. So again, your most accessible keys are going to be Q and E. I know they're set to other things. Sometimes, mic, or I know E's typically a use button. But what's more important, the use button or the building button? It's going to be the building button, right? So as far as the keybinds go for building, let's go here. So wall, E. E is the most accessible button. That's why everybody sets it as use, okay? Wall is the most important material that you are building component that you need in the game, because if somebody's about to shoot at you or anything like that, or they're shooting at you, you need to just be able to spam up a wall, right? And then Q, you're gonna need it because as soon as you see somebody, you're gonna want to start building. Okay, in this game, a lot of people, what I see, they start pushing and then they build after the opponent's build. You've already given them the high ground a majority of the time there. So as soon as you see somebody, you're gonna want to take off here and start building. Then look, you've got the high ground, whatever, do whatever you need to do, okay? So the next piece of it is your floors and your roofs. And I see a lot of people just not even use the roofs, and I think a big part of it is because they can't figure out keybinds for them. So what we do here is, if you have a gaming mouse, you have two keys on the side of it, right? Sometimes more if you've got like a G502 or something like that, but if you've got two keys on the side of it, the top one, floor, bottom one, roofs. So, you're building towards somebody, you can do things like this, where you're setting up roofs and stuff like that, so they can't knock your whatever, your building down. So, editing, that's the next part. So I think by default, it's set to G. I went with F. I'm not sure. I think repair is set at F. I'm not sure why. So basically I switched those two. I set G to repair and F for editing. So whenever I need to, get through anything, it's real easy click. Also, if you're thinking of setting like all your build keys on your keyboard, like maybe instead of having edit as F, I don't recommend it, because what it does, it kind of overloads your left hand. So if you have, some set to your mouse, it gives you room to breathe, It's really nice. Okay, so the next part is traps. Do I have any loaded? Yeah. So this is where it's going to get kind of iffy for you guys. I've already made you take away your use button. Now I'm going to tell you to take off your reload button. So your R is going to be for traps. Okay, just hang with me for a second. Okay, traps are important, so are jump pads. So you're building, you want to jump pad and go all the way up or something like this, you need to have access to them quickly and efficiently, right? So do you need a reload every 5 seconds? No, you don't. You absolutely do not. And we'll go over that in a second too, just because I see people reload every 5 seconds, and you shouldn't be doing that. And then the last one for building is, rotating your building. I set my middle mouse button as that. So just pressing down on it. You're not going to be using that a whole lot. It's not super important. I mean, if you want to set it to something else, fine. But like I said, it's not something that you need to worry about a whole lot, okay? Okay, so back to that reload button. What you see a lot of, take this gun for example. It's this and the drum gun, they have a 50 round clip, right? What I see a bunch is people, you know, they're fighting somebody, reload. It's the Call of Duty reload. You still got 24 bullets. They're like, oh, I see somebody, let's reload. There's nothing wrong with being reloaded and ready to fight. However, it'll mess you up more often to sit there and so say you're up here, you take your shots, and instead of planning your next move, you're sitting here reloading. It's a waste of time, and it messes you up quite a bit. So moving the reload button from R to, I have it set at caps lock, okay? So it's still easily accessible, but you're not going to be tempted to push it every 5 seconds, and you don't need to be, okay? I mean, you still got 4 bullets left. People reload. Stop. Please stop doing that. Spend your time doing other things. Don't forget to reload. But honestly, how often do you die from not reloading in comparison to dying from sitting there reloading while somebody else is moving up on you? Pay attention to that, okay? Okay, now the use button. So obviously this it is important. You're gonna be wanting to pick up people's weapons and stuff like that, right? Efficiently, quickly. What I have it set at, the next best thing, I did try to find a good key for it, but because the building keybinds do take up a lot of room, I ended up having to go with V, which is right on my thumb button, okay? So, just so you know, I mean, it works efficiently enough, and that's not a deal breaker for keybinds, right? It's just the use button. Not only that, a lot of people, what I see them do is they you know, kill somebody, and then somebody else is pushing them, and they're pushing to pick up their loot. They're like, oh, golden gun, whatever. Rather than doing that, you want to focus in on that other person, right? So V is a little clunky, but it'll do the job, and it'll let you build a lot faster. And like I said, that needs to be prioritized. Okay, so the next part of the video is the weapons. These also need priority, right? You can't win unless you're shooting people down. Okay, so for the weapons, starting with the pickaxe. The pickaxe doesn't need a whole lot of priority. You're gonna be busting down trees and all that good stuff, but you're not gonna be doing it immediately, okay? So for this one, I have 2 suggestions. You can either set it to C, so it's next to that use button, right? Because it's V. So C and V are right next to each other on the keyboard. Or you can set it to the number 2. However, I don't recommend the number 2 as much, because you're gonna want your hand on the W a lot, right? So with your thumb, you can switch over while you're running. Get what I'm saying? But nonetheless, it's not super important. Like, oh, somebody's running up on you, let me take my pickaxe out. No, you. So, because it's one of the less important ones, we're gonna set it to C. Okay. Okay, and we're often told not to use the mouse wheel up or mouse wheel down for our weapons, and that's true. You shouldn't be toggling through all 5 slots with mouse wheel and mouse wheel up, mouse wheel down, right? However, you can set it mouse wheel up to your primary weapon and mouse wheel down to your secondary weapon. You see how easy it is to switch between the two? Like, and it's not, oh, I'm gonna misclick this and get here. No, you'll build muscle memory for it just fine, and you'll always take out that weapon. So I know people use the number pad, and yes, we will be using the number pad for other weapons. However, for your 2 primary ones, people just leave the mouse wheel up and down key empty. That makes no sense to me. Set it for mouse wheel up your primary, mouse wheel down your secondary. So you see how fast you can switch between weapons? I do want to make it clear. You should not be using mouse wheel for all 5 slots. Really. I know people are like, oh, I've developed muscle memory for it, whatever. It's just not a good idea. If you want to be more consistent, just use it how I'm telling you. So the primary, up, down, just for primary and secondary. Okay, that'll work. Okay, so for the rest of the weapon slots, I know people use 1, 2. However, if you've got your finger on W, it's really hard to keep it on there if you're using 1 and 2. So that's why we use the scroll up and down for this primary and secondary. And then the most accessible number keys here are 3, 4, and 5, right? So pretty easy to switch to 3 while keeping your hand on the W. Easy to switch to 4. Relatively easy to switch to 5. And that's where I like to keep my heals and stuff, just because you're not, I mean, sure, you're going to be using it. Whoops. You're going to be using them, but it's not going to be like super fast, right? In comparison to the weapons where it's 3 and 4. And I mean, for me, that feels really comfortable. So it is important to note that muscle memory is a heck of a thing. If you do happen to switch your keybinds around to something similar or to this, it's going to take you about a week to get used to it. Anytime that I switch even 1 key, my playing is absolutely horrible, you know? So yeah, do keep that in mind. Okay, and then I know some of you may have to use push to talk, but we're already using so many keybinds for this game that I really recommend to go to your audio settings and just put push to talk off. That'll leave your mic open in this game, meaning that people will always be able to hear you without pressing a button. If you absolutely have to use a button, I'd find a keybind for it. Personally, I just don't. I just leave it completely open because I don't want to have to deal with any more keys than I already have to, right? Alright, and then this is kind of like an unnecessary one, but you know the arrow keys on your keyboard? You can set those to emotes if you want. You know, you happen to kill somebody or whatever, you want to do your little thing, that's fine. It's just one that's easy for me to remember, but completely unnecessary. If you want to take them off completely, go ahead, you know. Alright guys, so that's just gonna wrap up this video. Hopefully that wasn't too boring. If this helps you at all, please leave a like and subscribe, because I will continue to make videos regarding Fortnite. Okay, thanks for watching.